Hey, welcome back to the Big Book Deep Dive here on Progress and Perfection. You can find more information on our website. You can contact us. All the links for that will be in the description below. My name is Eamon. I'm joined by my good friend John. Here we go.
Page 100 at the bottom, starting with ass. Stupid.
What a weirdo.
What's wrong with me? Assuming we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things alcoholics are not supposed to do. Well, that's a paradox. People have said we must not go where liquor is served. We must not have it in our homes. We must shun friends who drink. We must avoid moving pictures which show drinking scenes. We must not go into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles if we go to their houses. We mustn't think or be reminded about alcohol at all. Our experience shows that this is not necessarily so. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There is something the matter with his spiritual status. His only chance for sobriety would be someplace like the Greenland ice cap, and even there an Eskimo might turn up with a bottle of scotch and ruin everything. Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on the theory he would escape the alcohol problem. In our belief, any scheme of combating alcoholism which proposes to shield the sick man from temptation is doomed to failure. If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but he usually winds up with a bigger explosion than ever. We have tried these methods. These attempts to do the impossible have always failed. So, our rule is not to avoid a place where there is drinking, if we have a legitimate reason for being there. That includes bars, nightclubs, dances, receptions, weddings, even plain ordinary whoopee parties. I wonder what a whoopee party is. To a person who has had experience with an alcoholic, this may seem like tempting providence, but it isn't. You will note that we made an important qualification. Therefore, ask yourself on each occasion, have I any good social, business, or personal reason for going to this place? Or am I expecting to steal a little vicarious pleasure from the atmosphere of such places? If you answer these questions satisfactorily, you need to have no apprehension. Go or stay away, whichever seems best. But be sure you are on solid spiritual ground before you start, and that your motive in going is thoroughly good. Do not think of what you will get out of the occasion. Think of what you can bring to it. But if you are shaky, you had better work with another alcoholic instead. First impressions.
Yeah, first impressions are dangerous territory here. There's nothing that I outright disagree with by any means, because the thrust of this is sound. It's like, if you got a reason to go to a whoopee party, then if you're spiritually fit, go for it. And suit up and show up. Bring your own transportation, tell your sponsor, somebody that you're going there, like all the kind of normal things that we do to ensure that we're insulated from the chance or the opportunity to drink.
Sure, right.
The other side of this is that if I'm reading this and I'm early in the process and I'm reading this chapter, but I haven't gone through the step work preceding this chapter, no, I don't recommend like to just suit up and show up to any old bar or nightclub or whatever function where there's copious or even small amounts of alcohol. Like I generally recommend people stay away from alcohol, like physically. Stay away from it. Don't keep it in your house. And there's all sorts of caveats, you know, with spouses that drink and don't, and functions that you got to go to with work and everything. But I have heard in the past some of these passages brought up, you know, we meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There's something wrong with your spiritual status. And I've seen this part of the book used as an excuse to do foolish things. And I have actively participated in that myself. Like looking back on my story, I think I've shared that here before, where I've done things and gone places. I don't know if my sobriety was in jeopardy, but I probably just shouldn't have gone looking back on it. And I checked all the boxes, and I was in fit enough spiritual condition, and I didn't drink, but it also wasn't the greatest choice.
Yeah. Yeah. So this idea of like, there's like these fundamental principles when you enter into this place of like being spiritually fit, having a good reason to be there, to your point, like having an out, maybe telling a sponsor, an accountability person, whatever that may be. And that if you are on solid ground with these principles, then you should not have any problem. That just, so I get it. But the idea of like going to a bar,
Usually dumb.
that just sounds dumb. I don't know. It just doesn't sound wise.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound needed. Okay, so like I think we brought this up last time, but the idea of, let's say, a wedding reception where you have a friend that you care about and you got history with, and like they're going to have a open bar at the reception. But you go to the wedding and you, I don't know, like me, like I just choose not to go to the reception.
Yeah.
Does that automatically put me in this default place of like not feeling spiritually fit or something? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that what that means? That like, I don't think so. It's like, I just don't want to do that. It doesn't seem to me like the wise thing to do, to just be around a bunch of drinking.
Yeah.
And drunk people. I don't know. It seems a little bit goofy. And I think, sure, maybe there's a place for perspective. Maybe in the old days,
Perhaps.
common meeting place for people was the bar or
There was
the nightclub.
There was no Starbucks or local coffee shop
Sure.
at that point.
Sure. But I don't know. That just sounds like a very precarious endeavor. And especially, like you said, like if you're new, you know, and you get a hold of this and you're like, I'm spiritually fit. I'm going to go to the bar and have some water.
Definitely bad idea.
You know what I'm saying? Or like these cats that like, I mean, I get it. I think there's a place for it like in later sobriety, but like in early sobriety, drinking like non-alcoholic beer and stuff. You know, that just seems risky. It seems risky. It doesn't seem
A risk to no real end other than spurring temptation.
totally, man.
And I don't see any two ways around that for myself. I mean, even long into sobriety.
Sure,
That's one of those things. It's just, I just furrow my brow and kind of am curious how that could be a good idea.
Totally. You know, like, I mean, I don't know. It may be like legitimate. Some people like
And
really
for sure, yeah.
enjoy the taste of a craft
Right.
beer, and they don't care if it has alcohol in it or not. And so they drink a non-alcoholic one and they're like, man, this is great. You know, for me, I think it just pissed me off.
I guess, yeah. It wouldn't do anything for me other
Because I'd
than
be like, this
irritate
tastes
me.
terrible. And now I'm pissed because I don't even get a buzz.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's see what else it has to say to us. Okay. Because I think there's more to comment about you. Considering this next provocative statement, why sit with a long face in places where there's drinking, sighing about the good old days? If it is a happy occasion, try to increase the pleasure of those there. If a business occasion, go and attend to your business enthusiastically. If you are with a person who wants to eat in a bar, by all means, go along. Let your friends know they are not to change their habits on your account. At a proper time and place, explain to all your friends why alcohol disagrees with you. If you do this thoroughly, few people will ask you to drink. While you were drinking, you were withdrawing from life little by little. Now you are getting back into the social life of this world. Don't start to withdraw again just because your friends drink liquor.
Yeah, man.
That just makes me go, huh?
What's up with that?
I don't understand.
I resonated more with the suggestions of change your playgrounds and playthings and people than go try to associate back with the very people who I got in trouble with.
With the same activities.
With the same activities.
They got you in
the
trouble.
same
At the
places.
same place.
Yeah.
The same people, places, and things.
Yeah.
But now that I'm spiritually fit, it's like, whatever, dude. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Huh?
And again, I see I don't know if I'd call it logic, but I see the reasoning behind it being here or how they're stating it and going about it and making sure they're trying to make sure that we understand if you're spiritually fit, you don't have to not go somewhere if you need to go somewhere. I think what you and I agree on is there's rarely a reason we need to go to these places.
Yeah.
Like very rarely.
And the other thing is like, it's almost like put on a show.
Yeah.
Like try to increase the pleasure of those there. Business go do it enthusiastically. If you want to they go to the bar like, woohoo, let's go to the bar, bro. Like right on, you know?
Yeah. That seems a little goofy.
And then, okay, so then there's this paragraph or this section there. Let your friends know they are not to change their habits on your account. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is I think this is kind of interesting. So there's this passage in Scripture that also it talks about freedom and liberty, that everything is permissible. However, don't do something that causes your brother in Christ to stumble.
Yep.
And I think it's applicable to situations where we have brothers or sisters in Christ who we know struggle with alcohol or may be sober, and we don't take care of them because we continue to keep it around, even at their expense. And that's contrary to what this is kind of saying. Now, maybe it's the fact that like we shouldn't go in and ask them not to drink. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's more like the hope that they won't put us in that position. But this kind of makes it sound like it doesn't even matter. Like we shouldn't even care if they're drinking or not. Like, because we should be spiritually fit enough to be like, whatever, dude, let's have a blast.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that has been the case. You know, I can think of concerts I've been to and situations, and I guess usually it has been around music in my pre-family life of sobriety, where I had really legitimate reasons, not all of them, but the ones that I'm talking about right now, really legitimate reasons to go to these places, and there happened to be drinking and sometimes other stuff going on within my realm of view. And like, it was just water off a duck's back, you know, no big deal. I was 100% there for something else. But I've also experienced in the faith community, brothers and sisters, and it's, I've almost gotten the impression at certain times that alcoholism for the now sober person, myself, that you're not really alcoholic anymore, that you're delivered from that and free from that. And that like, there's some truth in that, but that what they do around me doesn't matter. And like, it becomes more than just a non-issue, almost like you're not really, I don't know, not really even thinking about the fact that it could be a stumbling block. There's a blind spot to a lot of people that I know and have known that just don't have any clue about addiction. And I think usually that's the case, is what's going on. There's just no clue about addiction. You know, I had somebody offer me, I'm going to pick up whatever, years ago. Like, dude, like, you are aware. And he was 100% aware of everything that I went through, but I'd been sober a couple of years. It's like, oh, okay. So you're still not drinking. Right. That's still a thing. Right. Still got a problem. I don't know, but you're right. It does, that passage I always think of in Scripture, it does kind of rub up the opposite side of this. Yeah. And in the big book here, I have been thinking also back to that passage. I don't know where it is that we read maybe in the third step or fourth step, where it talks about us being placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected, that alcohol is no longer an issue. In essence, paraphrasing, so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. And so there's a heavy emphasis on this reliance upon God and this forward motion towards our spiritual condition that the big book emphasizes rightly. It just it's maybe a little out of bounds in this last little bit or skirting the line for me.
Yeah. I mean, one of the thoughts I always have is like, if they don't have a problem drinking, then they won't have a problem not drinking.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a fair ask, or it's like a non-ask. It's almost like, well, yeah, if it's not a problem, then why do we need it? You can stop when we're at the beach, you know, where you don't have to drink. You know, I mean, I've had that like with couples before, like going out to eat with couples before. There's lots of couples that are very respectful for that, and they don't drink anything. They don't drink wine, and it's because they like know the condition I'm in and sort of where my wife and I stand. And it's like they respect it, you know, and they're like, you know, I totally get it. Like, I don't have to drink. That's totally fine. But then some people, like, they know my condition. They know where I'm at. They know where my wife and I are at. And then it could care less. You know, and it's not
really thinking about it.
To your point, it's not malicious. Yeah. It's more just like, oh, well, yeah, you're cured, or like this doesn't bother you.
You're good. I'm good.
Yeah, this doesn't bother you any. Right?
Liquor, whatever.
Yeah. But then there's the other part of it though. That's like, this is what I've always said, and I still experience it. I don't have a problem being around drunk people or people that are getting drunk, because I can do that. You know, like, very familiar with that. I can do that. It's people that drink like one beer, or a situation where there's people that are like drinking like normally. That's the thing that gets me.
Interesting.
Because I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like the thing that it looks like fun to be able to do that. I've never been able to do that.
Looks normal.
I can't imagine what that's like. It looks like you have fun. It looks like, you know, it's appropriate, and you just kind of have a good time. You know, it's fun, right? I can't do that. Yeah. You know, and anytime I've ever tried to do that, I've proved myself successfully unable to do so. Yeah. So that's always been my thing. And like, I think those are the situations that I really try to stay away from. Or those kind of situations where it's like, I know I'm going to be around people that can drink normal, and I can't do that. And I can't. I'd rather just not go. I don't know. It's weird.
Makes total sense to me.
Okay, don't start to withdraw again. Just because your friends drink liquor. Right, they're drinking liquor too, bro. It's not even like they're having a few beers.
Oh, they're slamming it.
They're getting killed at the bar. Your job. Amen. Your job.
Please tell me. Pray tell.
This is awesome. This is the thing, like, you've been exploring for a while. Like, what is my job?
I'd really like to know.
Here's your job.
Purpose, job.
Your job now is to be at the place where you may be of maximum helpfulness to others, so never hesitate to go anywhere if you can be helpful. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. Keep on the firing line of life with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. Many of us keep liquor in our homes. We often need to carry green recruits through a severe hangover.
I forgot we were going to have people sleeping on our couch and burning things.
Burning down our mattresses.
We need to dose them to get them to calm down.
Of course, that's why we need to keep booze in the house, right?
Okay, that
green
makes
recruits
sense.
through a severe hangover. Some of us still serve it to our friends, provided they are not alcoholic. But some of us think we should not serve liquor to anyone. We never argue this question. We feel that each family, in the light of their own circumstances, ought to decide for themselves. We are careful never to show intolerance or hatred of drinking as an institution. Experience shows us that such an attitude is not helpful to anyone. Every new alcoholic looks for this spirit among us and is immensely relieved when he finds we are not witch burners. A spirit of intolerance might repel alcoholics whose lives could have been saved had it not been for such stupidity. We would not even do the cause of temperate drinking any good, for not one drinker in 1,000 likes to be told anything about alcohol by one who hates it. Someday we hope that Alcoholics Anonymous will help the public to a better realization of the gravity of the alcoholic problem, but we shall be of little use if our attitude is one of bitterness or hostility. Drinkers will not stand for it. After all, our problems were of our own making. Bottles were only a symbol. Besides, we have stopped fighting anybody or anything. We have to. Okay, so tell me about keeping booze in your home. Let's say I'm a recovering alcoholic, big problems with alcohol, but I'm going to keep some booze in my home. And in fact, I may even serve it to my friends. No. Agreed.
Stop.
Agreed. Why would we do that though? Like what? I mean, okay, so there's this justification here of like, oh, well, you may have the homeless guy who's going to burn down your house that you may want to give some booze to. Okay?
Yeah.
But that seems like an absurd justification.
Yeah, I mean, that's a continuation of last week's just hilarity session that we had. It was like comically bad ideas.
Yeah.
Even the thought of them today, it's hard to wrap my head around a day and age where that was a reasonable thing to do. But I guess that back in the 30s and 40s, that might have been a common deal for the first 1,000, 2,000 people that were in AA, because it was a super small, it was nothing like it is today.
Sure.
Like the core of principles are the same, but, day in, day out, didn't have treatment, didn't have the public knowledge, all that.
Right.
The bottom line is absolutely not. Get everything out of your house. Even if your spouse is a normal person and can drink successfully, like he or she probably wants you to stop also because it's been wreaking havoc, and they'll be okay with getting the shit out of the house for a little bit.
Right.
Now, I've got friends who, down the line and in that scenario, their spouse drink, and they'll have stuff like bottle of wine somewhere that he or she will get down and, have, like you're talking about, a glass from time to time or a half a glass. And so they do keep it in the house. I don't think that I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
It's a non-issue for our household. My wife doesn't drink. So it's like, okay, it's a mute point. We literally have no reason to keep it in the house. Right. Because I can't drink and she doesn't drink. But yeah, I mean, it's just, why would you tempt fate?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agreed. I can't imagine. Even with the wife thing, I mean, I run into that a lot in my practice. Different strokes for different folks, but especially with like noobs to sobriety. Yeah. I always encourage like the significant other to not keep alcohol in the home and not drink around the person. Because again, it's this idea of like, well, if it's not a problem for you, then you don't have a problem not doing it. Yep. And it's more about the overall health and well-being of your loved one, your husband or your wife, than it is your own ability to have a glass of wine and relax. Because, you just told me if you don't need it, then you don't need it. So why, to your point, why tempt fate? Right. Why are we keeping it around? Right. It just doesn't make sense to me. I can't even remember. I think it was, maybe I had a colleague back in the day, but he used to tell me about like he was sober, and he used to tell me about like how he would pour glasses of wine for his wife at dinner time. Yeah. And I was like, what? What are you doing? And he would say this like, bro, he would say this like in group. Oh, that's great. To people. Yeah. Like, I don't have a problem. I can, I pour wine to my wife. And I was like, what in the are you talking about? Right. But it was kind of this, I don't know. I guess this is where he got it from. I don't know. It just seems like a real bad idea. Yeah, it's again, it's just taking it one step too far, I think. Like there's a difference between sharing my experience, strength, and hope with somebody that they can get some hope
from where I am and from where I came from. But to go all the way like that's just like crossing a line to me. It's like I'm going to stay in the complete sober world side of things.
Yeah,
okay. I just am.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Over here.
I'm good with that.
Totally okay over here. I do agree with the idea of like, and it kind of is basically saying like detaching morality from it, in the way that we talk about it with newcomers and other people, that we shouldn't turn it into this like thing that's like bad or immoral.
I agree with that part.
Yeah, totally.
The last couple paragraphs here, it's like that kind of ends on a good note, wrapping up those couple pages in a good zone to me.
Yeah, rather than the absurdity of letting the freaking guy come into your house and burn your well, it's fine. It's totally fine. Let him burn your house down.
Burn a mattress
steal
from
your
time
money,
to time.
right? Steal your money, pillage your wife. It's all going to be fine. Don't worry. And then give him some booze.
Give him some booze. He'll calm down.
Right.
Dose him up.
This is why he's acting like a maniac, because I haven't gotten him drunk.
You may have to let him take your bed because he burned his mattress, but that's okay.
I just think that's amazing.
It'll only be for a few days, a few weeks.
Look, I am very thankful for the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous.
As am I.
I'm very thankful for this program of recovery. As someone who has worked it does in fact work. I know there's lots of movements in society now, abstinent movements, tolerance movements, successful drinking movements, all different kinds of ways to get clean and sober these days. And that's true. I mean, it's not like this is the only way that works anymore, but I think like what I've been reminded of just going through these 103 pages is that it's so much more than not drinking. Mm-hmm. The other stuff, a lot of the other programs, they'll help you stop drinking. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of the Band-Aid analogy. Like it's the Band-Aid to the deeper wound, and I think the joy of this program and the joy of the steps is that it really does give you the opportunity to like clean the wound out, to pour some antiseptic into the wound and clean the wound out, and deal with the real sort of core of the problem. So I'm super thankful we did this, man.
Me too.
I think it's been a cool thing.
And the thing about AA for me is that it was the bridge between my crazy ass and getting back to God. Mm-hmm. And the ultimate solution is this has pointed us to time and time again that God can solve our problem. Like we really can't do it. If we've got this deep-seated problem that needs that anesthetic, he is the solution. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I've been incredibly grateful for the past, I've been in AA for upwards of 21, 22 years now. And the better part of 20 of those was back in the faith also and kind of concurrently walking away from that drunk world and, taking some veers here and there, veering off the path, but going in that direction towards God. Yeah. So I'm grateful that it's not a one and done thing, because then it'd be like, well, what now? Right. What now? Right. Progress.
Right. Yeah. Not perfection.
That's right.
That's good. All right, friend. Well, always a pleasure.
A pleasure, sir.
I mean, we'll see what happens next.
There will be more. We don't know what it's going to be,
There will be more content. Don't know if it'll be to wives, to employees, to visions, to families, or
some off-the-cuff
hot takes and relevant discussions. Mm-hmm. So people out there, stay tuned.
There's more coming. There's more coming.
Yep. Always a pleasure.
I do. Hey, thanks for listening. You can find more info at progressandperfection.com, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.